Everyone, and welcome to the eBuzzers webinar with Joshua Waldman on 7 mistakes job seekers make online and how to avoid them. Joshua, we're very happy to have him join us today, is the Chief Social Media Strategist at Symptom Media Group, the CEO and founder of Career Enlightenment, as well as author of Job Searching with Social Media for Dummies and The New Connected Career. And, of course, a great eBuzzers expert. Thank you so much for joining us today, Joshua.
Thank you so much, Dana. Welcome, everyone. Can you hear me and see me okay?
Yep, looks like I have good audio and visual on you. Before we get started, I'm just going to run through some housekeeping items. So first, if you have any questions for Joshua, this is meant to be an interactive session. Please just type them in the chat box that you'll see, and you can send it directly to the host, and we'll forward those on to Joshua's attention as we go. The session should last around 45 minutes. Of these will be more of a formal presentation. Joshua's going to run through a number of slides as well as some of his prepared remarks, and then we'll have 15 minutes of dedicated Q&A at the end. Of course, questions as we get started, feel free to type them in the chat box. We'll direct them as needed. This is being recorded, and we will distribute it through the eBuzzers Facebook account, so facebook.com/eBuzzers, in approximately 1 week. So you can check out the recording or forward on to any of your friends that happen to miss the session. So that's everything from me right now. So Joshua, with that, I'm going to pass it over to you and let you get started.
Thank you so much. Well, welcome everyone, and it's a pleasure to be here this morning. It's a little bit overcast here in Portland, so I hope it's nice and sunny summer weather for you wherever you're dialing in from. And I want to just start off with a little bit of an introduction about what I do. So my main focus these days is helping job seekers who are frustrated with the traditional job search. In other words, the spray and pray of the resume or the content of job boards, and really take advantage of some of the really powerful and free social media tools that are out there and use them in a more effective way to getting the job of your dreams. I am the author of Job Searching with Social Media for Dummies, which came out last week. It's been on number 2 on Amazon for about a week, almost 50 reviews. So really exciting, great success for me. And I really encourage you, if you're confused about the job search or more answers or more depth from any of the topics that we talk about today, go ahead and check this book out. It's really sort of the pinnacle of all of the research and the work that I've done with clients for the last couple of years. Today we'll talk about 3 primary things. Talk about personal branding, which seems to be a hot topic these days, but I think that it becomes a little bit of it because it's not clearly defined, and I would even say too much talk about it because it's very simply just 2 things, and I'll tell you what those 2 things are in just a couple of slides here. And we're going to apply this idea of personal branding to your LinkedIn profiles and what that looks like to have a good online presence and why that's so important, and actually give you concrete things that you can do tonight to make that online presence a lot more powerful and a lot more effective for your job search. And then we're going to talk about the Twitter job search, okay? Because Twitter, I think, is the most powerful thing I've LinkedIn for finding that next position. And I'll give you some real-life examples and some tips and tricks that you can use to turn her into the only real-time job board in the world. And I'll show you what I mean in a couple of minutes here. But first, excuse me, why are we talking about social media in the context of the job search? Well, it's really because times have changed. Even in the last 6 months, 12 months, the hiring practices of companies that we're looking to get jobs at have changed. So we really have to look at this from the perspective of the organization. In other words, we're not just job seekers who are shifting our techniques. We're actually moving our techniques in alignment with how hiring managers are looking for talent. Just to give a couple of interesting statistics, only about 3% of jobs ever even make it to job boards, What this means is that most jobs come from word of mouth, from personal networks, or from just posting on a company's website without any kind of job board interaction. Additionally, every time a job is posted on a job board, 300 people are competing with you to get the attention of that organization. So it's not really the most effective way of finding work. As a matter of fact, companies are paying anywhere between $300 to $800 to post their jobs on job boards. And if that companies are struggling with budgets and things just like we are, then they're probably not going to pay that kind of money when social media tools are a lot more effective and efficient to do so. So if a hiring manager were to use their own LinkedIn network, you can see that with, actually this figure has changed in just a couple of months since LinkedIn IPO. There's 200 million professionals on LinkedIn now. Well, there's just a lot more possibility for the hiring manager to find that right candidate without having to wade through hundreds of spammy resumes or pay hundreds of dollars in order to get those spammy resumes. They can really just target in on those talented people who they think would fill their job requisition based on the people they already know, like, and trust in their network. As a matter of fact, Career Builder said that about 80% of hiring managers are looking on LinkedIn to find their next talent. So there's really no excuse to not have LinkedIn and other social media networks be the primary focus of your job search today. And so a lot of people think LinkedIn is just another online resume. Well, I'm here to tell you that that's actually not really true. And mainly what I mean by this is that LinkedIn is not just the exhibition of your past experiences and your past education. Actually, what it is a chance for you to take the people who you know and get a chance to know those people and then those people. This is a screenshot taken from my own LinkedIn profile about a year ago when I had about 880 connections. You can see how quickly this turns into millions of possibilities for me in career NFL. I was a job seeker, and I had access to 11 million professionals across the world. The chances for finding the right person, either the hiring manager or the interview source to that company that I was interested in, are going to be extremely increased. We have to be a little bit careful too as well, because about 50% of hiring managers have reported rejecting someone based on something they found about them online. It's fun. I'll tell you a quick story. I was at a leadership training seminar, and there was a hiring manager there. And I told him what I did, and he kind of scoffed and chuckled and laughed at me and said, social media is for wussies, and nobody uses that, and I certainly don't use that to hire people. And I said, really? So tell me about the last person you rejected. Why did you reject them? He said, I Googled her name, and it turns out she was an exotic dancer, okay? And that's not someone I want on my staff for whatever reason. I said, okay, so you don't use social media? That's interesting. The truth is that most hiring managers are doing this. They're going to Google you. As a matter of fact, the U.S. government has now approved Googling and social media research as appropriate background check. There are companies that are starting to get very big right now who only do social media background checks. So it's very important that your online reputation is clean, pristinely clean, actually. So, and we'll talk about how to do this in a couple of slides from now. Now, organizations are reporting in all of these surveys that I'm telling you about that they're almost exclusively using social media to recruit. A lot of companies are doing this, especially the smaller, mid-sized companies who don't have the big budgets of the Fortune 500s, right? Now, the key words in this quote I want to point out is efficient and effective. Efficient means that you can do the same thing for less money, right? Effective means you can do this. You can do the same thing faster. Okay. Now, if social media presents organizations with a cheaper and better way of finding talent, then of course this is exactly where the industry is going to move. It's like when email got popular. It was expensive than putting stamps on envelopes, and it got there a lot faster. So media in your job search is really a lot more than a fad or a trend. This is fundamental change in how organizations are finding and sourcing talent. You are going to need these skills throughout your entire career So it's better to get familiar with them now, get comfortable with using social media now. It will pay off in the long run, I guarantee it. Your resume has moved from a traditional paper resume. Very frequently, you're going to get Googled. In fact, it's standard operating procedure for organizations like PricewaterhouseCoopers and GE and others, where they will Google you. They have to Google you because it's part of their procedures in hiring. So you need to make sure that that first page of Google results for your name is accurately representing what you want them to see. Now, this is an actual screenshot from a search on my name, and you can see there's 2 results here on page 1 that are not me. And I've been at this for almost 2 years. Now, I was able to get the convicted felon and the lawyer off of the first page, but I have not been able to get the gynecologist off the first page. So you can see that there can be a lot of opportunities for misunderstanding who you are, and red flags can be raised. If, for example, that criminal was on this first page, I might find myself having a hard time. In fact, there's a funny statistic that says that almost 200 people on LinkedIn share the same name, exactly the same name, as someone on the FBI most wanted list. So make sure when you Google yourself that those results are what you would expect them to be. So what does all this have to do with your personal brand, and what is this personal branding stuff that people keep talking about anyways? Well, it really comes down to 2 fundamental things: who you are and what they need. That's it. That's all a personal brand is. Your messaging will come when these 2 spheres overlap, like as in a Venn diagram. Okay? So who you are means that you're able to very congruently deliver your message, your value proposition, your elevator pitch. What they need means that you understand the value that you're adding to the organization. So you know what challenges they're facing right now, what type of projects and initiatives that they're trying to implement that you'll be able to help out with. And when you can combine these 2 things, that overlap, that is your personal brand. That's where your messaging is going to come from, your color choices, types of pictures that you're going to put online. Really, it's nothing more than that. Now, if you don't think about your personal brand before you get online, you end up in the maybe pile. This is actually Zuckerberg, the founder and CEO of Facebook, right? This is a picture of him in his Harvard dorm room with a pipe right there, quite visible. And this picture was easily found on Google Images. Now, if Mark Zuckerberg has had a hard time cleaning up his online image and reputation, it means it's something we really do need to take very seriously. Okay? And so being consistent across all of our channels, all of our online channels, means that we're going to have a better chance. In fact, we're going to be better than everyone else just by paying a little bit more attention to the consistency of our branding message across these channels. We want to avoid that maybe pile. Someone is not having a personal brand. It's sort of a misnomer. Actually, everyone has a personal brand. You really need to just pay attention to it, be very conscious about building it, and how you're delivering it. So let's talk about that first sphere, that introverted sphere, that sphere of introspection, right? And all I'm saying here is that we really do need to take some time to understand our values, our drives, our passions, who's motivating us, what is inspiring to and why, who do we look up to. All of these are really important questions. If you are working with a career coach, you are going to have to go through this process. But if you're not working with a career coach, there's a risk that you're going to jump over it. And especially if you're unemployed and feeling a little bit desperate or nervous about your next job, there's a risk of jumping over this more strategic step. I really encourage you to not do that, to grab a personal branding book, whether it's mine or any other personal branding book out for the market, and really start to follow those exercises and understand who you are and what you're all about. Now, the second sphere is about understanding the needs of an organization. What problems do they have that you can solve and that you're willing to solve? A great way of understanding the problems of an industry and even of an organization is to go to a website called alltop.com. What Alltop does is it aggregates the top 10, 50, 100 blogs and news sites within hundreds of different industries. you can see all of the news and trends all in one place and without having to do extensive Google searching. It's already identified the best sources of information for you, and you can get an account with them and then subscribe to your particular industry. It's a great way of seeing trends and as well as figuring out what problems that these organizations, your target companies, are facing that you can solve. All of this woo-woo personal branding stuff have to do with your LinkedIn profile. A little bit of your LinkedIn profile, I think that's very important, is your professional headline. And you'll notice that LinkedIn calls this area underneath your name your professional headline. It does not say put your job title here, right? A lot of people, when they fill their LinkedIn profiles, are just putting their job titles, like this first example page where he's a senior software engineer QA. Well, QA, quality assurance, right? So what's the problem with this? It doesn't really show his personality, his fit, his motivation. It's just simply a job title. The second one is much better. The reason why this is better is he's using up all 120 characters as much as possible. He's just showing a lot more of his personality, his level of motivation, and his professionalism. Okay, so we want to make sure that when we're filling out this professional headline area underneath your name and your LinkedIn profile, that this is your chance to make your first impression. This headline is actually attached to your name on every single communication you send, which means if you're going to send an email to a hiring manager, you're going to read that headline, and that's your first impression. So make sure it counts, okay? This is a great place to put elements of your personal brand. Mistake 2, using your headline as your job title, is actually your headline. And so what I'd encourage you to do is, after you've thought about your personal brand, to go into a word processor and try to come up with a very succinct statement of who you are and what makes you different and what you do within 120 characters. Now, it could be just a series of words with comma, or it could be a sentence in prose. Totally up to you, but you want to make sure that this area is used to its fullest extent. You have 120 characters, so take advantage of that. Now, the most important part of the LinkedIn profile is this profile summary, right? The one showing you right now, it's long, it's too jargony. If you really see this closely, you can see it's full of all kinds of acronyms and training methodologies, and this person clearly likes to use up his organization's training budget, okay? If I were a hiring manager reading this, I'd probably be done with it by the third line. My eyes have glazed over. Now, a much better example. The reason why it's better is that it can be read within 30 seconds. It's about 5 lines long, okay? And a lot more industry relevant language in here. It's a lot more about what value he can add to his next position. Now, this summary comes from an executive, a vice president at a software company. Much example. So when you're writing your summaries, keep them short, keep them to the point. Make sure you can read them out loud in 30 seconds. Now, mistake 3 is rambling on in your profile summary. The problem that a lot of people face with their LinkedIn profiles is that LinkedIn doesn't provide any guidance about how to fill out your summary, right? So it's just most people will either keep it blank or will write their life story in the thing. So what I want to do today is offer you a 4-step process for writing your LinkedIn profile summary. And so I hope you're taking notes. These are the 4 steps for writing your profile summary. The first step is to answer the question, who are you? Okay, who are you? Who are you means is really just a very general overview of what it is that you do. Hello, my name is Joshua Waldman. I'm a social media strategist specializing in helping frustrated job seekers get the jobs of their dreams. Okay, this is sort of the format where if you're at a networking event and someone says, hi, tell me about yourself, the first sentence that you're going to say is going to be that who are you question. So the first thing for your LinkedIn profile summary is to write down who are you. Now, as you're going through this webinar with me, I'd love to read yours. So maybe when we get through these and you want to write them down, go ahead and drop them in your chat bar and share them with Christine, and we'll take a look and maybe read them out loud and give you some feedback and share them with everybody else. I think it would be really fun to see how you guys thinking about your profile summaries and how you're engaging with this process here. Step one, who are you? What do you do? And what do you do very specifically means what problems do you solve for your target organization? Now, hopefully, you're having a list of top 10 organizations that you target. If you don't have this list, I would suggest that you get very, very specific, because then you can start to define what problems these organizations are facing right now. So when you answer the second question, what do, you answer it in the context of how solving this organization's problem. What problems do you solve? That's step two. Step why you are the best at solving this problem. Okay. Now, a lot of people have trouble identifying exactly why they're the best at something, and I guess it comes from being trained to be humble and not to brag or ring our own bell. But sometimes we do need to ring our own bell. I remember working at Cisco and being very humble and being actually criticized for that and saying, look, if you made that sale and if you did these 5 things, you need to let everybody know, because nobody's going to find you hiding. Yes. The same is true when we're job seeking. It's very competitive out there. Don't be afraid to tell a little bit about why you're the best at what you do. Now, a great exercise for figuring this step out is to think back on your professional career and remember a success that you had, something that you accomplished that you're particularly proud of. Now, think about why this was successful for you. What did you do? What did you contribute to this to make it successful? And why are you so proud about it? Is there a value here that we can elicit? Is a skill here that we can start to identify? Okay, step 3, why you are the best at solving that problem. And step 4 is, what do you want? Now, savvy marketers know that on every marketing message, there needs to be some kind of implicit or explicit call to action. A lot of job seekers who aren't trained in marketing will skip this step. So this is a really important thing to have. Somebody reads your profile summary. What do you want that person to do about it? Do you want a call? Do you want an email? Do you want a meeting? In other words, you might say something like this. If you're looking for someone to sweep really good floors, then please give me a call, or whatever it is that you solve. So, you really want to entice the reader of your profile summary to take some kind of an action. I hope that makes sense. So here's a quick summary, 4 steps. Who are you? What do you do? What problem do you solve? Why you're the best at solving that problem? And what do you want that person to do about it? Now, we're not saying anything like I'm seeking a job or I'm looking for an opportunity. What you're saying is, if you like what you see, then give me a call. It's really the format of this last call to action. So if you're taking notes and following along, what I'd love to do is to actually read some of yours. So go ahead and post your profile summary with these 4 steps. Go ahead and drop them into that chat box. And maybe during the Q&A part of today's presentation, we could review some of those and see how you guys are doing.
Excellent. We did receive a couple, so we'll forward those on to you. So you can do it during the Q&A section.
Wonderful. That'll be fun. All right. So let me ask you guys a question. Would you show up to a job interview naked? And always someone who chats when I ask that question. And it is always, yes, it just depends on the job. But in all seriousness, if you're looking for a job outside of a strip club, then you probably wouldn't want to show up to an interview naked. So my follow-up question is, why is your LinkedIn profile not 100% complete? Know that your first impression is very likely going to be an online impression and very likely going to be a LinkedIn impression. Then having a 100% complete profile looks naked, right? I mean, let's face it. You're missing certain key elements that hiring managers are going to need to see. Full descriptions of where you used to work, recommendations, a profile picture, all of these things that LinkedIn asks for, they for a very specific reason. Now, on a tactical level, if you do not have a 100% complete LinkedIn profile, then your profile does not show up when a recruiter searches for certain keywords. Let me repeat that. If your profile is not 100% complete, you show up on search results. So purely tactical level, you want to make sure you're there, you're at 100% complete. That gives you a lot more visibility so that you might get that unsolicited phone call from a recruiter looking for someone like you who otherwise wouldn't have been able to find you with your incomplete profile. So please, if you take nothing else away from today's webinar, go home tonight and do what it takes to get to 100% complete. And if you're having trouble with this, then post your question here and we'll see if we can work through it, okay? I want to tell you a story that disturbs a lot of HR people. HR people on the webinar, I apologize in advance. She's a career coach, and she was approached by a client, a very talented engineer. This guy had buckets and buckets of patents in his name, right? Involved with several startups here in Portland. He was having a very hard time getting his next position, and he didn't understand why. He was very, very qualified for all of the positions he was going for. Now, when she started to review his application, she looked at his resume, she looked at his cover letter, and then she looked at his LinkedIn profile, and his picture kind of looked like this. Very shot-esque. He's staring head on. He's not scowling, but he certainly wasn't smiling. It was a little bit of a mugshot picture, right? He could have had the numbers under his chin. What she had him do was go and put on a suit and put on a smile and go take a professional headshot. You can get these very inexpensively. You can go to Walmart, Target. It doesn't matter. You can go to your local photographer for $99 and get a couple of headshots done because these are going to take you a very long way. Now, when he changed his picture, within 7 days, he had 3 job offers. Okay? This made all of the difference in the world. Believe it or like it or not, we are visual animals, and we make decisions on split decisions that we make when we see things. This is one of the reasons why some organizations don't use LinkedIn. Some financial organizations try to avoid it. I know that Chase doesn't like its employees using LinkedIn, for example. So, the reason is that we do get influenced by looks, by the way people look. And so you want to make sure that your picture is going to count. The other issue is that some people are afraid to put their picture up at all. Now, I'm on a dating site looking for a hot date, and there's a profile that says I'm tall, dark, and handsome, or Scandinavian blonde model, and there's no picture, right? And so you're going to think to yourself, sure you are. You're not going to have a lot of faith or trust. I'm talking with a lot of recruiters and hiring managers throughout the years. They have a similar feeling about the candidates who don't post pictures. Believe me, having a picture on your LinkedIn profile is worse than having a bad picture. So it's that today there's still racism and sexism and ageism that go on. We need to find ways of avoiding these issues by avoiding pictures, but facing them head on. And addressing the stereotypes that we have to deal with on a daily basis. So if an organization is going to make judgments about you based on the way you look, negative judgments, and make hiring decisions about that, then probably that's not a place you're going to be very happy with for very long. If you have a picture that looks professional on your LinkedIn profile, there are a couple of really good examples that I like. Brooke works within the advertising industry, and so she's working at a creative firm where they really like to creative people and fun people who think outside the box. So here she is rocking out on a plastic guitar for the video game, right? So this is a very specific profile picture done for a specific reason, and I think it's still professional. Okay, I'm Slim in Abhijit's photographs are really nice. You can see that he's kind of tilting his head sideways. He's smiling. There's a negative space around their heads. That's interesting. There's an invitation in those looks that is very nice, and that can really be captured very easily when you're working with a professional photographer. So invest in a nice picture. Mistake 5 is looking like an axe murderer. Noticed when I showed you that profile summary a few slides back that there's this thing down here called the reading list by Amazon. We talked a little bit about what a hiring manager needs to know about you in order to make a decision. And we said, look, of course you need to be able to do the job, but what about your fit and personality? And so fit and personality are very important for a hiring manager as well. The third question that really needs to get answered is your level of motivation. And why this is so important is that you're going to be 1 out of 10 interviewees, for example, going for a position, and every single one of them is going to say, wow, I'm so excited. This is my job. I really think I'm a great fit, and so forth. Their job is to sell themselves to the hiring manager. The hiring manager is not going to believe everybody, okay? So what you need to do is really, in your application and all of your online presence, is to try to find ways of demonstrating your level of motivation so that when you say, I'm really motivated by this industry and I'm really interested in this position, this is something I've dreamed of, they're going to be able to have proof that you're telling the truth. And having a reading list show industry-specific books that you comment on and that you're processing, even though you're unemployed or working outside of the industry, is a great way of showing your level of motivation. So use this reading list from Amazon to demonstrate your level of motivation. Make sure the books you choose are industry relevant. And this application is free, and so there's just a great opportunity here to make your LinkedIn profile unique, to stand out. Finally, think about the color of the cover of the book and how that impacts your personal brand. So mistake 6 is not using a reading list to show motivation. You read it and bring it up to the top of your profile, right below that profile, so that they can see what books you're reading right now. Now, most people are uncomfortable with in-person networking, and so they'll do things in their job search like only apply using job boards, right? This is why a lot of people default to sending out resumes, going online and clicking apply with monster.com or something like this, where it's very low pressure, low risk, not so scary, and there's a lot less chance of letdown, right? So this is actually a mistake. We need to be sure that we're not hiding behind our monitors for our job search. Using social media is not a replacement for in-person networking. It is an augmentation of it. Okay, so you have these resources available to you within LinkedIn and Twitter and even Facebook to meet new people, and this is your chance to say, let's take this offline. It's great to meet you on LinkedIn, but I'd really like to buy you a cup of coffee or get on the phone with you, because we know that when you go out there and you meet people, that level of intimacy is just a great way of building a better reputation, building a better relationship, and ultimately, when you need to call in a favor, they'd be more likely to want to help you out when you're using these tools to augment your in-person networking. So make sure you get out there and you meet people in person. Mistake 7 is leaving your online relationships offline. Let's take offline is the most important phrase you can use when you're networking with these social media tools. Okay. So let's move on to our agenda item, which is Twitter. Now, Twitter is evolving and continues to evolve and change. It's a very pliable platform. However, it still has a little bit of a stigma related to it. Now, some people think that there is an inverse relationship between how much you tweet and how lucky you get. This is probably my favorite chart because it harkens back to the days when only the most nerdly people were using Twitter. And as we know, nerdly people are not kings of the campus or whatever. But I think that this has really changed, and it's certainly not the case anymore. Certainly look at Charlie Sheen and his multiple simultaneous girlfriends. He got pretty lucky, and he tweets quite frequently, right? So that's not true. And people think that they're mundane. I just got in the shower. I had bacon and eggs for breakfast. This has been the case, and certainly some people continue to use it like this. But because of the pliable network, the pliable nature of this network, we know that we We don't have to follow those people. We don't have to read those tweets. We can start to use Twitter in the way that we want to, right, which is to reach out to hiring managers or get alerted to new opportunities when they become available to us. It introduces you to a couple of tools that will open Twitter for and really help you turn it into one of the most powerful job-seeking tools you have ever used. So the first tool is called Tweet My Jobs. TweetMyJobs.com has just been purchased by CareerArc, who is now pouring millions of dollars in development in this application. This is an amazing tool. The way it works is that you subscribe to a job channel. Job channel has two variables, where you live and what industry you work in. So this particular job channel that you're seeing on the screen is for LA area job seekers who are interested in engineering jobs, right? So if I subscribe to this job channel, I only have to read about jobs relevant to me. Every day there are literally tens and tens of jobs being posted on each channel. So if you haven't signed up to Tweet My Jobs, look, you don't even have to tweet. You just need a Twitter account, right? And in fact, with Tweet My Jobs, you don't even need a Twitter account. They let you in just to check out what jobs are available, and hopefully you'll be inspired to start using Twitter. Of course, that's one of my goals today, is to have you do that. Now, another interesting phenomenon with Twitter is this volunteerism that has emerged, right? So if you go to Twitter Yellow Pages, and in this case I'm showing you Twello. Twello.com is the Twitter Yellow Pages that indexes the profiles of Twitter users. And if you type in California jobs or LA jobs or Missouri jobs, whatever, wherever you live with the word job, you'll see tons of accounts of volunteer people simply sharing job openings that they've heard about. And so this is a real-time job board wherein you're actually able to be, in many cases, the first person to learn about an opportunity as it becomes available. Ran this search, and here are a couple of results. I mean, there were so many to choose from. San Diego tech jobs, right? SD jobs. Look at this. They have 135 tweets so far. 120 tweets, right? So these are 120 jobs that this one job Twitter profile has tweeted. This one, Jobs Los Angeles, this is LA Jobs. They've tweeted over 36,000 jobs, right? Here's another one, California hospital jobs for healthcare. And if you're in healthcare, 1,200 jobs have already been tweeted about this. It seems like, they're tweeting on a daily basis. Here's just general California jobs and so forth. So there are so many of these out there. It's ridiculous. And a lot of recruiting firms are actually doing this to get their own job postings out and to fill up their buckets with talent as well. So if you use Twitter yet, or look to see what's out there on the Twitter sphere as far as helping you find opportunities, you're missing out if you haven't yet. So really, I encourage you to try it out. Spend 5-10 minutes today and just see if Twitter is something that you could use. Use myjobs.com or to Twello and look at some of the local job listings. So today's webinar with just a couple of takeaway points. First takeaway point is that I want you to walk away with is really think about your personal brand before you go on. Okay, you're going to pay off. You're going to separate yourself. Just by taking this step, you're going to be different than 99% of your competition out there, and so it's worth doing. Two is polish off your profiles, get them complete, get photographs in order, make sure you're consistent across your profiles. Spend some time doing this. It's very important because your online reputation may be the first impression you make. And finally, deepen your relationships by taking them offline. You meet an information interview source or a hiring manager, then give them a coffee, get them on the phone. I blog about these topics on a weekly basis, so new technologies, new tips, new strategies, guest posts, they're very regularly. And so I very, very much encourage you to check out my blog. It's careerenlightenment.com. Sign up for my webinar. Sign up for the because you'll actually get access to more webinars, more video recordings, a lot of free resources that only members of my community will have access to. So if you haven't done this yet, careerenlightenment.com, go ahead and sign up for the newsletter, and you can subscribe anytime. There's just a lot of great information for you. and check out my job searching with social media for dummies. Nothing else like this on the market, and there's been a lot of momentum and press around it right now. And I think this is a tool that I wish I had when I was off twice back in 2008. And now that it's available and social media is a lot more prevalent, I think this is really going to help you when you search for your career and throughout your career as you grow. So thank you all so much, and we can take questions now.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Joshua, for that. That was very helpful. We've actually had a bunch of interest from our participants in terms of submissions. So first, one of our participants asked, when they search their name on Google, they're not getting any relevant results. How do you go about fixing it? How do you, they already have a LinkedIn account, a Facebook account. How do you actually make those results more relevant?
So it's a very long process to dominate to get Google resume up and running. I would say that you need to start publishing more content, right? So if you have done videos in the past, if you've done slideshows, if you've written papers, find sites like YouTube for videos, SlideShare for slides, DocStock or Scribd for sharing articles or reports, and get things out there and get them indexed by Google. Now, Google indexes all of these sites, right? And so make sure your name is on these documents. And slowly, these documents will start to appear on that first page of Google search results. Also, make sure that on your LinkedIn profile that you edit the URL of your public-facing profile to have your name in there. When you get your LinkedIn profile, it gives you some random display of numbers and letters as your public-facing profile. If you go in there, you can actually edit that. When you edit your profile, you can edit your public-facing profile. You can actually change that to your full name, and that will also help you rank.
Excellent. We also had a question on LinkedIn profiles regarding recommendations. So to have a full LinkedIn profile, do you need those recommendations? And if so, what type of people should you ask to do those?
Yep, 3 recommendations to get to 100% complete. And so you probably want to have them come from a supervisor or a customer, and maybe a peer, but a peer is not as powerful as a customer or a supervisor. So these are really important to have. Don't take this lightly. You need 3. You need to send 6 out and then follow up with a phone call or a personal email asking personally for the recommendation to come in, and really make it clear that them taking the 5 to 10 minutes it takes to write a short LinkedIn recommendation is really going to benefit you in your career, and that you would very much appreciate that.
Thanks. We had another question on LinkedIn. There was a question about a 3D person voice on LinkedIn profile. I actually must admit I don't really know what that is. But is that a good thing to have on your LinkedIn profile, or any thoughts on some of the fancier features that you can add?
What was it?
A 3D person voice in LinkedIn profile.
I don't know what that is, so I can't comment.
So then, maybe not. Okay. What are your thoughts on, for example, Facebook? That's where you talked a little bit about kind of the dangers of Facebook and, having photos up there. How do you protect your Facebook, which is a personal, let's say, online platform, versus your public face?
Yeah, there's a number of strategies here. I think we're going to see more professional types of applications becoming adopted Facebook, and so a lot of them allow you to have 2 distinct networks. Like, for example, with Branch Out, you can have your private Facebook network, but you can also start to build a professional network that don't necessarily overlap. And this will give you a public-facing profile, much like a LinkedIn profile. And meanwhile, Branch Out is attracting users to come and look at their database of millions of users to find talent. So there's actually quite a lot of benefit for those of you who are willing to be early adopters of Facebook for professional networking. You may have a huge advantage over people who are not willing to do that. There are techniques of creating lists or segments within your within your Facebook friends list. So you can have one called limited access and change the permissions around limited access so that they're not seeing your wall posts, your religious beliefs, and your relationship status, which are inappropriate for HR people to even know about. So you can do things, and I talk about this more in a step-by-step way. We just don't have time, and I don't have screens to show you, but the book actually has screenshots to take you through this process of actually creating a line within your LinkedIn, your Facebook friends list, so that you can maintain your personal life without having to risk your professional reputation.
Right. Okay. A lot of sense. I think there's another interesting question on the LinkedIn side saying, when in your profile, let's say looking for work across a number of different fields, one thing is creating your personal brand, but how do you do that if you're, let's say, looking at two different types of jobs, two industries, without seeming unfocused?
You seem unfocused. One of the limitations with LinkedIn is that you only get one. Okay, so what you need to do is just pick, and it's probably not the kind of advice that someone who has two different interests wants to hear, but you need to pick. Pick one that needs to be your public-facing interest, and then you might have an online resume that's for the other one that you can use. For example, you might go to Innovate CV and a public-facing LinkedIn profile that is for the secondary interests that you have, and then directs and then you have sort of a split personality online. But within LinkedIn, you do need to pick. You don't want to be indecisive about that. That will actually hurt both. That will hurt you twice as much as picking one and then going further with that. So,
do you recommend focusing?
Yeah, I really think that having two interests on your LinkedIn profile will hurt you in both areas.
Right. And on that, and recommend posting your entire resume on your LinkedIn profile, or would you hold that back and wait till you actually have an interview or an invite?
I'm not fully understand the question. I'm going to make some assumptions, though. So if you're saying that, if you're asking about having your resume being available for download on your LinkedIn profile, I do not think that's a good idea. Okay. If you're asking about putting all of the information from your resume to LinkedIn profile, then I think you should. But if you've been in the job market for more than 15 years, if you've been a professional for more than 15 years, then you probably want to cut it off at about 15 years. You don't want to go back much further than that.
That makes sense. So I think just in the interest of time, I know that you wanted to look at some of the personal pitches. So what we'll do is we'll post one of those to the entire group so all the attendees can see it, and they can provide some comments on that.
Okay. And I'm going to close my shades.
That was good. Go. What would you like to start with of the ones that we sent through?
Start with the first one.
Okay. Close that out. It's from Gary.
The agent?
Yes.
Okay. Chris, do you want to read that out loud for everyone?
Post it on the chat so everyone has it. So that should be out in just a moment.
That's a little bit long, actually. So just a little feedback, Gary. I'm going to read that out loud. It's going to take me more than 30 seconds. So you might really just take those 3 steps, the 4 steps that I gave you, and make them a little bit more succinct. And I know it's hard to do that, and we want to get all of these accomplishments and messages out within our summaries, but it's not the place to bullet point out our accomplishments. It's actually a place to be very concise about who we are, and so that we're working within 30 seconds or less to the hiring managers to help them make a decision. Any more than that actually kind of annoys busy hiring managers. So I would suggest keeping that a little bit shorter. From Kirk, which is short, so I'll read it. Whoa, it keeps moving. It keeps moving. Okay, nobody's for a second. I oral and written communications to promote products and services through new and established media. I save a nonprofit electric company with effective media relations and market a nuclear power services internationally. Call me if you want to get the word out about your company. That's really good. The fact that you saved a company, you saved a nonprofit utility through media relations is phenomenal. I think this is a very strong one.
So on that, do you ever run into issues about being too strong? Like what kind of, everyone in their resumes, whether it's an online profile or their actual resume, tends to kind of push the limits in terms of what they accomplished and definitely talking it up. What's your thought on, that fine line?
Well, as long as what you're saying is true, I don't think it's harmful. As long as, so anything that you say on your profile or your resume is open for questioning, right? So for Kirk, having saved a nonprofit electric company, that when he's in front of the hiring manager and during the interview and they say, so how did you save the nonprofit electric company, Kirk? Kirk, I have to have an answer for that question. And as long as he's comfortable with that, that's fine.
Excellent. So that you think it's a great, or you think it is a great, profile header.
Yeah, I would make the call to action a little bit stronger because you're not, everyone wants to get the word out about their company. So maybe what it's more like, call me if you want to, something more full, like take your public relations to the next level, or where you've never gone before with your public presence. Something like everyone wants to get the word out, but what is it? You saved a company. That's amazing. So, there's something more powerful there within your call to action, I think, that you can add.
Excellent. Okay. Well, we are running up against the time limit now. Is there any final questions that people want to type through on chat? We'll take more, and then if we don't say anything, Joshua, what are your closing words?
Closings are, the advice. I was on chat roulette last night with Brayson Careerist, and one woman said, you have a lot of great advice, and thank you so much, but I'm just feeling so desperate to get a job that I haven't paid a lot of attention to my personal brand, and I haven't really crafted a nice message on a LinkedIn profile, and so my advice is, you really have to approach these things without the mindset of desperation. If you're unemployed and money is an issue, I know that can be hard. I've been there, believe me, but this is your career, and so take that time, take a day, really focus on that personal brand and get your messaging crystal clear, make that crisp before online, and then use these tools strategically to grow your relationships. And I think if you follow those two kind of rules of thumb, you find it's a lot easier to make progress in your job search.
Excellent. Well, thank you much, Joshua. We really appreciate it. For everyone on the line, if you have any further questions, as Joshua said, please do take a look at his website for enlightenment, check out his book, or if you want to speak to Joshua directly, you can find him on evisors.com. And everyone, thank you very much. We're going to sign off now. Have a great day.
Thank you.